Moments ago, standing together with her wife Sherelle in the Oval Office, I spoke with Brittney Griner. She's safe. She's on a plane. She's on her way home. After months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances, Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along.
So, this is kind of a surprise. There had been multiple updates along the way having to do with Brittney Griner being arrested and eventually imprisoned in Russia. If you have not been following this, she is an American basketball star who was caught with drugs, and that became, apparently from Russia's point of view, the biggest crime of the century, I suppose. But anyway, it's led to a lot of negotiations about possible trades, and that is what ended up happening here. The trade took place in the UAE. It did involve leaving behind Paul Whelan, an American corporate security executive who remains jailed in Russia. I know that his family has been speaking out about this trade. Viktor Bout, who's a Russian arms dealer, was given back to Russia as part of this deal. That's what the trade was. Jessica, what do you think?
I think that this is great. I mean, Brittney Griner should have never been in prison in Russia in the first place, because using marijuana is not a violent thing to do. You're not hurting anybody else. It of course should not be illegal. This is not a reason for someone to be detained who was invited there by the country to play basketball to make some extra money. It's just ridiculous that she was ever detained. It's obviously Russia playing politics, but it's great she's home. It should have happened much sooner.
Yeah, look, I think for most people, this news is being greeted as great news. The idea that she would spend one moment in a prison for what she did is madness. It's, as you say, it's them insanely playing politics, both in terms of making this big international ordeal over this, and also having the laws at all. And they're not unique in doing that. Here in the US, most of our government officials still love to pretend that marijuana is this terrible thing. Who's to say how damaging it is or what it does to you? I mean, nobody's ever tried it. So they play politics with it, we play politics with it. Most of the legislators probably in both countries who are working to keep it outlawed have consumed at the very least marijuana on a regular basis, if not far worse substances. So it's ridiculous that she could have spent any time there. So great news that she's coming back. Of course, the nature of the trade, I understand, can be frustrating. The idea that you would have to give up an arms dealer with all of the baggage that comes with him for an athlete who had a little bit of weed, that's insulting, deeply insulting, but that is how, that's how these international things go. They don't often make sense, they're not often fair. They knew that they had leverage. They knew that a lot of people really wanted to get her back. They knew it was looking really bad for the United States and Biden that they weren't able to get her back. And so they used that to get what they wanted, which is someone who had committed far more serious crimes.
I think it's hilarious that American conservatives, or this particular faction of American conservatives, are mad about this. Is the NRA seeing the tweets where they're comparing an arms dealer to someone who used marijuana? Because the way the right treats these crimes in America, I mean, selling guns is great. They love the guys who sell guns. And the party of the war on drugs and reefer madness, I mean, it seems a little bit backwards that they think the arms dealer for someone who used marijuana is a bad trade. By their standards, that would be a great trade. They love people who sell guns. Doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly, and the only thing bad about guns is what influence you might be under while holding them. I mean, a gun isn't dangerous, even an AR-15. It's just if you've had a little bit of marijuana, then maybe it's a problem. But anyway, as you allude to, they are frustrated, they are angry. So we're gonna turn to that in just a second. First though, I did want to give Brittney's family a chance to weigh in. So let's go to that for just a second.
BG's not here to say this, but I will gladly speak on her behalf and say that BG and I will remain committed to the work of getting every American home, including Paul, whose family is in our hearts today. As we celebrate BG being home, we do understand that there are still people out here who are enduring what I endured the last 9 months of missing tremendously their loved ones.
That is Sherelle Griner. And look, I can totally understand how look, your primary concern is gonna be getting your family member back. But also, since you've been in this experience, you probably have even more compassion for other families who are in that same experience. So I understand why they would be considered allies in this shared cause, and she'd be talking about it at this. Beyond that though, anyone who tries to make a family member of Brittney Griner feel bad because of this trade, go 100% of the way F yourself, honestly. Like, they want to get their family member back. And I can only imagine what sort of social media strike back and political commentary. We're gonna turn to a little bit of the immediate stuff now, but it is not gonna go away in a day or a week. Cherelle Griner's not responsible for every little minute iteration and variation and what happens in international diplomacy. And yet I am sure that Cherelle, as well as Brittney, will face, I'm gonna say, months or years of harassment for it seeming unfair or whatever. They're gonna tie it to all sorts of stuff, and I'm already disgusted. Any final thoughts before we move on to Fox News?
John, you're telling me that when the United States State Department decides to negotiate hostage situations, they're not putting the family members at the forefront and saying, you know what, you call the shots. What do you think we should do next? That's not how it goes.
Yeah, I think they should release the shot of the big conference room table and the entire cabinet's there, and Cherelle seated at the head of the table, calling all that. Like, obviously they have interest, but they don't have influence or power over this. I mean, they have some influence, sort of indirectly. They don't have power over it directly, though. Leave them the hell alone. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.